I just feel that for me personally, I want the ability to give people the tools to understand that all the things that can happen from staying consistent toward a goal, toward a mission.
Yeah.
Right. I think there's a sense of achievement that we get from it. There's a sense of um, uh, lack of better terms. I think there's a sense of empowerment that we get, and that click. And when you get a chance to see that, is magical, brother. And yeah, I think we've all seen it. It could be with our kids. It could be with someone we know. But when you see someone work hard and they have that aha moment when they look at it,
Mhm.
go, I can do it, and they believe in themselves, brother. That's it's a magical thing. And I think it's interesting because many times people will relate that back to you have to have material things, or you have to have a gym, or you have to have money, you have to have all these different things, but it's not. It's just back to, again, that um, self-awareness and understanding,
Yeah.
just like in this lockdown, it's really pushed that into a lot of people's minds, is that it's just me. If it's just me,
Yeah.
what am I about? Who am I? What am I about? And when people can get, if I can play a small role in helping people understand that and see that,
Yeah.
brother, that's another level. That's another level for me. So whether people go, do you like training the SEALs, or do you like training, elite athletes, or do you like training, Chris and those guys? I'll be honest. I like training anyone that is overcoming their own adversity in their life, which is pretty much everybody, right?
Yeah.
And helping you provide the tools in a small way to understand and how you could apply some of the principles that you learned in the training to other aspects of your life. Just it makes the world a better place.
Over the last couple of years, my concept of what being fit means has changed. It's gone from what I would perceive as a scrawny kid about putting on muscle and bulking up and putting on all those exterior things we all associate with being fit, and it's gone from that to truly being fit for life. You know, to be able to do all the stuff you really want to do, to be able to carry your 3 year old around, to be able to just not get tired physically and mentally, and in a way stay optimal, right? Stay optimal in the way you are and how fit you are. And I've this mindset's also changed because I found a set of people online largely who have been trainers who speak a certain philosophy, who speak about being functional in life. And one such trainer is Da Rulk. When I first downloaded the Center app started by Chris Hemsworth, I discovered Da Rulk's workouts, and they felt interestingly different from anything I'd ever explored. And the more I did them and the more I tried those movements, I just kind of felt a whole different side of me come out. I saw the fact that I could move better, I felt fitter. It also kind of made me look at life from a very different lens. And so I dug a little deeper. I dug a little deeper into who Da Rulk was and where he kind of came from. And what I actually got out of that was the fact that here's a guy who trains on one end first responders, right? He trains everyone from Navy SEALs to firefighters, everybody else. But he's also trained Chris Hemsworth and Josh Brolin, right? So he's trained real life heroes, and he's trained Thor and Thanos. So when I got the opportunity to speak to him, I didn't just want to talk about fitness. I wanted to really talk about being functional in life, about the mindset of fitness itself, and really dig into how that relates back to how he looks at purpose in life. And that's what's ahead in this week's episode of the Varun Duggi Show. I'm Varun Duggi, and we'll be right back with Da Rulk.
And how do you get this? How do you promote your podcast?
So this one, what I'm doing with season 2, because I did season 1 of this podcast last year, and honestly, it just started off. I don't know what's going. It started off as just like something I wanted to do in lockdown, because I said okay, because everybody was having conversations about work, and I'm like, we're all stuck at home, right? I should not talk about work. Let's talk about and I said, I really want to talk to people who I find interesting and just talk to them about anything they want to talk about, and so just
I
started
find
that
you
way.
interesting too. But thank you, bro.
So that was literally the idea. So useless information happened because I was like, I want to talk about what is called useless information then? And
Now
I
you made
felt,
me. Now you made me feel bad. So you pulled me in with like I wanted to talk to interesting people, and then he goes, "My
yeah.
name of my podcast is useless information." So
Okay,
go ahead and speak.
let me explain why it's called useless information, right?
Okay,
So
okay.
this is theory I've been peddling for a while. The theory is the fact that you know, we're always told as we're growing up that there's stuff you should learn which will help your career, you know, help you in life, and it'll
Of course,
help
yeah.
you go somewhere. And there's a lot of stuff you actually enjoy, which you will say, oh, it's useless, you know, you shouldn't spend time
Yeah.
focusing on it. So, that's the stuff I always enjoyed, right? And the more people I meet, I realize that's the stuff they all enjoy. And I'm like, one second, so
Useless
there's
information
something
for you.
about that. Yeah,
I like. Okay,
let's talk about that.
you almost broke my heart, but now I feel good. Now you pull me back in. Now you pull me back in with it.
But yeah, I mean, one of the things that I feel that over the last 1 year, even though this is the first time we talking, I feel like I've had you talk to me a lot over the last year, especially doing all the workouts. Or
You can do it, Varun. Let's go. Let's go. One more.
And one of the things that got me was, so I always thought functional wasn't for me, right? And because India has been, and it's still largely the what I call the gym bro phase of working out, right? You go to the gym, you do the standard stuff, you do your bench presses, and you do,
Yeah.
the standard stuff that puffs you up, but doesn't necessarily make you move any better. Like I remember when we had our daughter, I kind of like, there were times when I would walk around and Pooja's my wife, and she's like, you're lifting this baby up, you seem to have like, and my biceps and shit were larger, but I just get tired carrying her around, and I'm like, this doesn't work that way, right? And that's why, and I always tried functional, never could do it. What I'd love to know from you is, how did you get into functional and everything that you do, and into fitness overall?
Yeah, it's interesting. So in school, so I played college American football. I was an athlete in college, and so I got my degrees in kinesiology and movement, and the emphasis in biomechanics. So I was very interested. I'll tell you now that I was very interested in the science of it, but back then it was ability for me to work out while I was like a meat style workout while I was playing. But again, so I started looking into I come from a first responder family. My father was a police officer. So when I was kind of growing up, I used to look at police officers, and I knew firefighters and I knew all the first responder community. And so, you'd see guys that are just specimens, just weapons. They're ripped, they're big, they're strong, but they couldn't perform on the job, which always fascinated me. I didn't understand that, and even outside of first responders, you have athletes that play soccer, cricket, football, all the sports, and they're in great shape. But when the game would come on, they would just fall flat. And I just didn't understand that, right? So we got into, at the time when I was in college, they went into sports psychology, and they're looking at it as a psychological thing, and they're doing it. But then sometimes they find that it still wasn't the case. So I was fascinated. So when I started doing my dissertation and looking into it, I wanted to see what that was all about. So I realized that functional training really is more about our ability to adapt to situation, adaptation, right? So my focus always came into sequencing. So sensory processing is the key thing. And I try to explain to a lot of people, this is kind of a foundational pillar in my training curriculum. So you figure strength, everyone focuses on strength and conditioning, right? Not even if you're looking about aesthetics. I think aesthetics is like a byproduct. If you get in shape, that's great. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're training for aesthetics, that's fine as well. But if you're training for strength and conditioning just to get your muscles and body stronger, that's great, or cardiovascular. But there's still chapters 1 and 2. And the first thing is sensory processing. So when sensory processing, we all have 5 senses, right? And then we have our near and far senses, which is proprioception and vestibular, the vestibular system. So when we go into a situation, whether I'm a firefighter and I go into a burning building, my body is assessing that my senses are taking in information, right? That information directly affects your ability to manage your adrenal system, right? Which focuses on your heart rate, your metabolism, et cetera, and helps you actually organize your nervous system. The nervous system is really how your body, can put everything together to function correctly. And then chapter 2 is more your motor planning, right? Because what you do is you take in that information. Your body takes in that information, goes, okay, we're in danger, this is happening, I can't hear, I can't see what's going on. Then we go into motor planning. So, okay, what do I do now? How do I execute? This is happening very, very microseconds.
Yeah.
and your body then assesses that situation. And then at that third chapter, only when you execute those things in motor planning, you're able to apply your strength and your conditioning, et cetera. So I think what people start to realize that, I get in great shape, but that doesn't mean anything. I mean, there's a lot of focuses on people focus on mobility, and I think mobility is great. I'm a proponent of all movement, and you'll see me, I'm a proponent of CrossFit, kettlebell, everything, body, everything. Any type of movement, I'm a huge fan of. But when you start talking about functional training, there's a lot of people that are focused on, that means battle ropes, or that means jumping on a box, or, and those are good. They're good modalities, but you have to understand, you have to try to put it together. So a lot of my training is, how do we get your body to adapt? So a lot of my training is body weight movements. There's a lot of sequencing in place. So basically, pretty much, if I told you to say the alphabet A to Z, you could say it, right? But if I told you to say it backwards, or every third letter, or every sixth letter, it would take your body some time to figure out that coding. And that coding is really understanding your body's having to adapt, because neurologically, your body's trying to figure out the coding and figure it out. And once it does, it gets that down, and that pathways there set, then you can do it quickly, right? Yeah. So the better and more efficient your body is at adapting to situations, the more functionally strong and efficient you are, right? So my goal and my passion, my purpose was always to focus on the first responder community, firefighters, military, police, ocean safety, anyone that serves the community and requires that. It has to go in EMS, emergency services. But then what I started to find is that it applied to athletes. I mean, I trained a lot of top UFC players, a lot of the, in the States, in the United States, NFL, Major League Baseball. I trained all of them. And so what I wanted to do is put together this program that would make sense. And it has, and it applies. So it's been edified through who I train, right? Then, of course, the opportunity to work with Chris and all these things that we've done gave me a global footprint of that, right? Because people that have done other modalities, I'm not saying stop doing your other training. If you're doing CrossFit, keep doing CrossFit. Just add this, right? It's an add-on. It's pretty much to help propel you to the next level, right? Because if you're doing what you're doing with the strength conditioning, don't stop doing that, because you need that. That's a chapter in the book, but you also need the other two. So mobility is key. I mean, there's people that do yoga. There's people that do all these different, stretching movements and holding. I think that's great. It takes a lot of core strength. But I'm all about dynamic mobility, right? Yeah. If I'm moving, and if you carry your daughter and your keys drop, you don't slowly breathe out and reach down and grab your keys. You reach down and grab your keys quickly. Your body has to figure out that it can adapt, because it remembers these movement patterns, and that's where my sequencing comes in, right? And so, again, when the opportunity worked with Chris and Center, and it went global, it was just kind of serendipitous in the way everything happened. But when that did happen, is understanding that applying those principles can be done to anybody. And then when lockdown happened, a lot of people don't have equipment, right? Yeah. They don't have a lot of space. And so my training is something you can get done very quickly. And I started to look at how that managing of the adrenal system with my sequencing applies to metabolism, which of course is fat burning, et cetera. So long question, I can go deep into it, but it's if that makes sense. Hopefully, I know that's all useless information, but.
It's not right, and what I've found interesting about the way you look at fitness is that there's some things which you kind of feel, okay, I can see animal flow happening, right, of some sort. The amount of bay crawls that happen, right, or and like for me the sit through, which for me was the most unique one to kind of get, because initially I was like, there's no way I'm going to do this, right? And when I look at each of those movements, and initially I was like, how is this going to help me? Because there are many people like me who have the problem, which is, and most people tell me it's not a problem, is that so I lose weight very easily. It's very tough for me to gain weight.
I know it's because you're shredded. Before he came on here, guys, he walked in with no shirt on. I felt a little uncomfortable. I told him, put your shirt on. Put your shirt on. He said, look at my 8-pack. I said, but please put your shirt on. He was holding a cup of gin, and I don't know.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, a cup of gin and no t-shirt.
Cup of gin and no shirt.
Exactly.
Will you please put some pants on? Something. One of them. You're naked. Come on.
So yeah, and what was interesting for me is that there are elements to your workouts which I've never seen movements like those in workouts generally. So
Yeah.
I love to know, were there specific things that inspired those moments? I mean, especially some of those, because some of those
There
seem
is.
very rare.
That's a great question. There's a lot of, and again, when you mentioned animal flow, I'm a huge proponent of all movement. Animal flow is great. People ask, like, bear crawl, there's like a cheetah, all these different animals, uh, and which is great. But I try to break it down a little more from a biomechanical standpoint. So I look more at the hinges, what's working, how the movement patterns work, etc. And a lot of this does, for me anyways, was my research and assessment. So initially, when I started doing my training, and I was training, individuals or Olympic athletes, or I would train first responders, I would take a look at what they have to do on a daily basis, right? How they pick things up, how their hinge work, what's recruited. And then from that assessment, I would lab and figure out, can I put together a program that would incorporate those movements? Can I get some rotational work? Can I engage the core? Can I do these? There's an offset training, which is a lot happens with firefighters. We have to pick up one thing only on one side of the body to engage. Can we do this in a way that we can strengthen those muscles and that movement pattern and make it something they can do repetitively without weight? So a lot of that was, it all kind of came through. I mean, the sit through initially came through from a wrestling move called a sit out, which is a wrestling position on all fours and people try to sit out. So I assessed that position, but then I would look at that movement and see where, for example, on a sit out, if you do that repetition over time, that movement, it's a lot of strain on your shoulder girdle just because you're over rotating. So I was figuring, can I maintain stability within my shoulder and engage different. So that's kind of how I go into it. So I'm a very much a nerd when it comes to that. I look into things and I assess. That's the biomechanics side of me, and I look at it and I try to assess where that's going in. Then I take that movement, I'll lab it myself, and I'll address and how it directly affects my heart rate, how it affects all these different things, and that's kind of how I put that all together.
So how did you how did you connect with Chris, and how did that whole thing happen? And I know that, okay, you've trained Chris when we were having our chat earlier. You trained Thanos.
Yeah, Josh. Yeah, they're both were stalkers, and I the restraining order finally was lifted on both of them, and then I said, you know what, maybe I should make peace with them. It's kind of weird. It was creepy. It was very creepy for a long time, but oh, shit. I love those guys. They're family, my brothers. Interesting. Like, it initially started with Chris, because Chris had reached out to me, and Chris was like, hey, and he had, we had communicated for a bit, and then he said, hey, listen, man, could you help me with some training modules? And so I showed him some of my stuff, and then of course he launched out Center. And then, it's been a fun experience with Center, and I think it's done really, really well. And then, of course, it was right around the time of Infinity War and Endgame, and so Josh wanted to train, who I'm very close with. Josh and our families are very close, but Josh,
I've seen your post about saying how you're telling people how you guys are actually brothers.
Yeah.
You're twins.
It's funny.
I saw that
DNA.
post.
It's been proven. DNA proves it. But yeah, so it was just interesting. And then it's just the whole thing with, they're both great guys. That whole Avenger team is it's just about, it's a fraternity, with, of course, half sorority, because there's women too. But it's just a fun experience. I mean, it's looking back now with COVID, if you think about it, it seems like an eternity ago.
Yeah.
But the biggest movie of all time. It happened right before it just they dropped the mic, right? It was the biggest movie of all time, then COVID, and then no movies at all. And so it was a different, it seems like a whole different lifetime ago. Even though it's only been like a year, but man, it was a fun experience. It was a phenomenon. Avengers is a whole phenomenon. That Marvel universe is crazy. So yeah, it's a good thing though.
Yeah, one of the things you also talk about is how you're kind of connecting purpose to actually fitness. So fitness has always been something which you do, right? So people say, okay, I want to get up in the morning, run because I want to lose weight and stuff like that. But in recent times, there's this whole connection about your physical fitness to kind of connecting to your mental fitness, right? And a lot of what your workouts involve that. And I'd love to hear your thought on how you connect both those. I mean, we'll get to the donuts, which is the thing I want to talk to you about.
You better get to the
But
donuts.
we better get to
That's why I came for the donuts.
yeah. But I want to understand how we look at this whole connection between physical and mental, which wasn't really as popular a thing till like a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it's interesting for me. Purpose is one of the key pillars in my own life, and also for my training. And I think what people have to understand about fitness is everyone's saying, "Hey, get motivated to go train, right? Like get motivation." I don't really believe in motivation. I think it's fleeting. It only lasts for a very short period of time, and it's very much this, right? There's days you're motivated, there's days you're not. So if motivation is the fuel that gets you going, you're gonna run out of fuel on days, right? And so I found that even when you try to pursue like any type of fitness program, people tend to get lost, right? They start and they kind of go offshoot and they're lost. So you have to have your internal GPS system. You have to have your North Star, something that's going to lead you to where you need to go. And I think that's your purpose. So I tell people before you start a program, I mean, from a standpoint of, and I'm just using like a firefighter, firefighters have a purpose. They want to save lives. They want to keep themselves safe. They have a job. And for anyone who wants to train, and it's fine to train for, hey, I want to lose weight. I want to, tone up. And that's great. I think that's a byproduct that will happen on the journey. But your focus needs to be on what is your purpose? Are you doing it because you want to be a better father, a better boyfriend, girlfriend, better wife, husband, better? Yeah. It has to be a purpose, right? That's your GPS. That's step one. Step two is really understanding that discipline is what's going to get you to the goal. Because when you have purpose, that gives you your GPS. So if you're thinking about you're building a car, then from there, you're going to figure out, okay, what's my goal? What do I want to do? Where do I want to go based on my purpose? Right. And once you decide where you want to go, then you have to have the discipline to get there. So discipline is making sure that no matter how you feel, you're going to get something done. It's your to-do list that you can't deviate from that. The second phase from discipline is consistency, because that's discipline over time. So can you stay disciplined on Monday? Can you then be disciplined Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? Can you stay disciplined on it? And in order to do that, you're going to have to lean many times on your GPS system, which is your purpose. Yeah. You're going to have to lean on step one, which is the discipline. But if you're disciplined, you're consistent with that discipline, and you have purpose that's driving you forward, that's when you're unstoppable, because that's when you will consistently move forward with that discipline, with purpose, and you'll achieve your goals. So understanding that application, not only to training, but it carries over and overflows into other aspects of your life. Because that approach is an approach that I feel very strongly in, that if you are applying that to work and business, to relationship, to school, whatever the case may be, right? The people that have always achieved their goals are people that have a purpose of why they want to do there. They go, oh, that's my motivation. That is motivation, but you have a purpose for doing it, right? Yeah. Some people are like, hey, I've been picked on. I want it. Okay, my motivation is, that's not your motivation. Your purpose is to be able to be strong enough to defend yourself, right? So that's why you do it, right? Your purpose is to be healthy. That's a purpose, but it's got to be more. Who are you healthy for? I want to be healthy for myself. That's fine. I want to be healthy for my family, for whatever, but there has to be that, because I've seen it too many times. It just get lost. It's too hard. It's a treacherous road. Yeah. So you have to have a roadmap. You have to have all your supplies and all your fuel in order to get there.
Yeah. Something interesting about what you said, right, is this whole motivation to also say that, there's stuff which we do in life which we never connect to fitness. Like for me, that daily workout every day is what gets me through my day, because it kind of gets me into like the right headspace, and everybody tells me I'm a really cranky person if the day I don't get my workout in. I'm like, I'm that guy sitting around saying, oh, my lower back's hurting, or I'm like, I'm just irritated and stuff like that. And I feel that's important, right? This is the most healthy thing you can have to center yourself.
Yes.
And kind of find this thing, and also like, I mean, I think it also your focus shifts once you become a dad, and for me it was that is the fact that before that it was like, oh, let's make the biceps bigger, or let's try let's do all of that stuff, right? But after that, after having, and my daughter's name is Leia, so I was like, after having Leia, it was like, okay, I really got to like be able to play with her. Right? I shouldn't have this
Yeah.
this like because she likes to make me do weird games where I lift her up and then she walks in the house like she's a really tall person.
Right.
And so I need to be able to do that long enough. Or I do kettlebell swings with her, which she
That's
loves.
awesome. I love it. I love it.
Right, she
I
loves it.
love it.
But the fact is, to do that, I got to be fit in a certain way, and I think it translates to that. It translates to how you are with your family, how you are with people around you.
Yeah.
I think that's real happiness, right?
Yeah, because I think it's we're all on this journey, and there's a genesis to all of that, right? It starts at some point, but things evolve, and I think when you have kids, things change dramatically because you are now not living for yourself; you're living for someone else,
Yeah,
and that is inherently purpose because now someone's counting on you, right?
yeah,
And that happens even when you don't have kids yet, and you're just become married, or you get into a situation. Once someone starts counting on you, that accountability comes in, and your perspective and your paradigm change dramatically because you stop thinking about, hey, what about me, and you have this egocentric idea. It's more about, I need to be prepared for them, I need to focus on them. And it's not so much as peers, like I want edification from those around me and affirmation. It's less that it is more that I will be prepared to do whatever I can to either, like you said, for your daughter, play with your daughter. It could be to protect somebody. It could be whatever the case may be. But that's very, very important. I think that's when many people, and I think, I'm sure as a dad, you talk to people, that's one thing that resonates with everybody. Is they go, I get it. Because it's a change. It's hard to explain because it's not just it's not a conscious change. It's like right away. It's like, that's it. It's not, you're like, I'm in. And that's one of the strongest, I guess, motivators, if you call it motivators, for me, because that motivation is that purpose, right? And that's why there's this whole thing about motivation, purpose. And people always ask me, and I've been on different things, and people go, "What? You don't believe?" I go, "Motivation it's good. It's an emotion. It's a result of purpose. Once you have purpose, you get motivated. But it's not. You can't have motivation as your key thing. So." But again, it's interesting, brother. I'm excited because the ability for people to do my training. I focused on doing the training in the sense that I try to keep it keep it short. I think many times people overcomplicate exercise. You go into a gym, and you're like, oh shit, I got to do this weight. It's intimidating to do all this stuff. So I try to keep it as basic as I can. As on the center, some of my workouts are only.
You can't call it basic. I have never felt like I have never felt like death in 7 minutes in a 15-minute workout than I have doing your workouts. So the basic is an understatement.
It's so funny because a lot of people just go, hey man, you're doing the program, and they say I don't have the time. I try to focus on that. I try to take all the variables out. No, it's gonna be short. I got you got 10 minutes. You got 10 minutes. I don't have the space. I could do cluster work, which means you don't even really have to move. I don't have any equipment. You don't need any equipment, right? So for me, when you take out all of the reasons why not, you're left with the reason why, because there are no why nots anymore. And I think it's important that I wanted to provide something. And again, it's not the RFT program, my training curriculum, is a standalone program, but it also is there to complement whatever you're doing. Some people like to run. Some people like to do yoga. Some people like to lift weights. There's a large myriad of people that like to do a variety of different things. So my whole focus is provide something that you can do anytime, anywhere, wherever you are, on holiday, at home, in the office. So that was kind of my goal, and that's where it came into kind of that. I was talking about the movement, and that's where it is. Just move. People just gotta move. And right now during COVID, there's so many reasons why you're faced with a lot of introspection and self time when you're trying to figure out what I want to do. So you have to kind of take that in and do less of what I can't do and what I can do. Right. Which is a huge thing. And that's I think something that we can take on to everyday life. If you focus on what you can't do, then you're never going to take advantage of what you can do. So I wanted to create a program that you always can do, right? Like my whole thing always can.
Yeah. You know, there's this post of yours which I was seeing, and I think that line came up a few times. Is where you're talking about you can't go back and change the beginning, but um, I forget the second part of it. But you can start now and change the ending of it. If I got
Yes,
that right.
yes. Yeah, because I think a lot of us, we've all had, things in our life that we look back on that we regret, or we
Mm.
look back on hardships, or we look back on things that have changed the course of our life, or whatever the case may be. And we could take our time to look through that and focus on that. But the reality is, we all say it, is there's nothing you can do about that. You can learn, take a lesson from
Yeah.
it, and move on. So I think rather focusing on behind you, you're never going to see what's in front of you. So
Yeah.
um, my focus is always just, hey guys, I tell these every time. I mean, we have to say this many times to first responders that get into a situation of trying to rescue someone, and they're unable to do so. And to lose someone that is a huge failure on themselves. So it's a process of understanding, listen, I did my best. I have to deal with that, come to terms with it, but I have to move on. So, fitness in general, you may have tried fitness programs in the past, and
Yeah.
some may have worked, some may have not. Some may have you stuck with, some you didn't. But you have to take a new approach, new page. And from that point, stay strong and move forward. So,
Uh, how did the name Ralph come about?
so, so my Brazilian friends,
Yeah.
some of them from the Gracie family, which is a jiu-jitsu family well known worldwide, but used to call me Hulk
Hmm.
for my strength, right?
Yeah.
But in Portuguese, H is spelled with an R, so it's
Yeah.
R-U-L-K, right? Like like Hoist Gracie, Henna Gracie, they have R at the front. So it was just Rulk. So a lot of my Brazilian friends still call me Hulk,
Yeah.
but everyone else who would see it would say Rulk. So, and they go, okay, it's Rulk. And then, from all my Hawaii ties, in Hawaii, if someone says, hey, that's the guy, they use DA instead. So he said, hey, that's the guy. They go, yeah, that's the guy. That's the guy. Hey, that's the one. Okay, right? So when I would be there, they go, oh, hey, there's Da Rulk. Hey, Da Rulk. Hey, come here, Da Rulk. So that's how it happened. And then it just stuck there. And then, yeah, it's been forever, but everyone just calls me Rulk. And then the only time it gets a little weird is, I used to have those Uber apps, and those kind of apps, when I have to get a ride back pre-COVID days. But it just, for some reason, they set up my app, and so it says Da Rulk. So people would say, hey, they thought my first name was Duh, which didn't really make sense. They say, hey, Duh, hey, Duh. Which isn't the case. So, but
So you had to flip that around then and say my first name.
yeah, Rulk Duh or something, whatever the case. But it's I'm when you go to Starbucks or go to get a coffee and they ask you your name. I mean, my name has been hatcheted so many times to Rulk, Rulky, all kinds. So yeah, but it's like Hulk with an R. So
I just had this very weird thought. So if you go, so one of the states in India, called Karnataka, with this city called Bangalore, and I went to school there and stuff like that. So how you say what's happening, man? Like, or you say dude and stuff like that. Like, in that state, because they speak a language called Kannada, they say duh.
they say Duh as well.
So duh is like saying what's up, man. So it's like man or dude or
Oh, so
like,
it's like saying what's up, bro? That's like something. Hey, Da Rulk.
exactly. Yeah,
What's up,
yeah.
bro? Oh, I love it. Okay, that's my new favorite city. There we go.
Yeah. So and that's actually and I'm so intrigued to say what will happen if you ever go to Bangalore and you say your name's Da Rulk and they're like, your brother Rulk or your dude Rulk.
I love it, brother. I love it.
Uh, you mentioned I mean we spoke on motivation a while back, right? But I'd love to know what inspires you. What kind of inspires you to do what you do, and obviously on a daily basis you're helping, on one end you're helping first responders to really be fit for what they do. You're also working with people from across the board to kind of, I mean, I saw this video of the new thing you're doing where people, it felt like watching two spiders running on a beach when I saw that recent video. I'm like, there is no way I'm going to ever do this. I'm like, and I was like, maybe I should try, but I was like, I'm not going to try it on a weekday. But I love, in all of this, and obviously I've seen how you kind of cherish the time spent with your
Mhm.
with your kids, right? And I think what I'd love to know is what inspires you.
You know, it's interesting. I think there's a personally, of course, it's always trying to be a good example for my kids and spend time with my kids. My purpose, is family and trying to get that done. But I think it's far-reaching as I've got my training out there too. And I've been an opportunity to get global with my reach and talk to people. I mean, at home, I am on the advisory board for the Children's Hospital. I do a lot of. I try to do a lot of philanthropy and get involved with helping people. Right. So for me, I found passion and inspiration. And when I say inspiration, uh, it's more that it touches me in a sense of
Yeah.
knowing that there's a reason for what I'm doing. So I think a lot of it is anybody, whether you're facing adversity, and you're facing physical adversity, mental adversity, whatever it is, financial, whatever adversity is, people overcoming adversity inspires me, right? It just inspires me. So I have a passion right now of working with as many people as I can. It used to be just first responders or elite athletes. Then it became working with children and everything. I just feel that for me personally, I want the ability to give people the tools to understand that all the things that can happen from staying consistent toward a goal, toward a mission.
Yeah.
Right? I think there's a sense of achievement that we get from it. There's a sense of um, lack of better terms, I think there's a sense of empowerment that we get. And that click, and when you get a chance to see that, is magical, brother. And I think we've all seen it. It could be with our kids, it could be with someone we know. But when you see someone work hard and they have that aha moment, when they look at it and go, I can do it, and they believe in themselves, brother, that's it's a magical thing. And I think it's interesting because many times people will relate that back to you have to have material things, or you have to have a gym, or you have to have money, you have to have all these different things, but it's not. It's just back to, again, that self-awareness and understanding. Just like in this lockdown, it's really pushed that into a lot of people's minds, is that it's just me. If it's just me, what am I about? Who am I and what am I about? And when people can get, if I can play a small role in helping people understand it and see that, brother, that's another level. That's another level for me. So whether people go, do you like training the SEALs, or do you like training, elite athletes, or do you like training, Chris and those guys? I'll be honest, I like training anyone that is overcoming their own adversity in their life, which is pretty much everybody. Right?
Yeah.
And helping you provide the tools in a small way to understand and how you can apply some of the principles that you learned in the training to other aspects of your life. Just it makes the world a better place.
Another thing that makes the world a better place is something you're obsessed about, which is donuts. What is
Oh,
why
donuts, donuts.
why do you love why do you love donuts so much?
It's interesting.
What is behind
They're
your
heavenly.
obsession with donuts?
They're slices of heaven, brother. They're just like little. It's funny. I just love. I'm not a big candy guy, but I love pastries. Okay,
Ah,
and cookies are good, but donuts, they're like half cake, half. I don't know. They're just half amazing. It's
half cake and half
it's
amazing is the best description of donuts I've ever heard.
the best is like they ask, what do you? It's half cake. It's half amazing. It's half wonderful. There's like 50 halves to the donut. But yeah, I mean, it's just one of my favorite. It's people realize that I love donuts, and then it just spiraled out into this whole donut eating thing. I don't really do too much running, but Center had this the community, which is really large now globally. They started some club called Run Like You Stole the Rokes Donuts. And it's on, I think it's on Strava or something. It's this huge group of people that run with these T-shirts, run like you stole my donuts, which you should run if you stole my donuts.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's just interesting, man. The donuts, it's become this whole thing. But don't get me wrong, I love donuts. I absolutely love them. I can't eat as many as I used to, but I love donuts.
Did you hear that? I was telling someone the other day, and I was like, when I was younger, and I was like, you can't have so much candy, you can't have so many these things, and I was like, when I get older and I don't have to take permission, I'll have all of these things. And you get older, and you're like, oh damn, I can't eat so many donuts, or I can't have so much candy, and I'm like, when was the time to have all these
I
things?
know, brother. It's so funny. When we're young, we're told, hey, don't eat them. But then when
Yeah,
we finally can make the decision to eat them, it's too late because we should have ate
yeah,
them when we were younger. Yeah,
yeah.
I know. I know. I'm with you. I'm with you right there. I'm with you, man. But I
Um,
try to have a balance. It's funny and that's with me again. Uh, I commend everyone that has a strict diet. I know there's sacrifices that need to be made sometimes with eating a very healthy lifestyle. But there's also understanding you want to have a healthy mindset, and a healthy
yeah,
mindset is, sometimes you should indulge and get a chance to enjoy food, right? You don't want to
yeah,
become it's just fuel for because I think there's added benefits to understanding balance.
yeah,
So for me, I try to focus and I try to preach that to everyone is it's balance. Yeah, of course you don't want to eat donuts every day like you and I want to,
yeah.
but it's okay to have it once in a while. It's okay, to indulge in life because life is short. It's so short, and so you have to take the time to enjoy every moment. And whether that's good food, good company, um, you know, it's good to live in the gym and do those things and be dedicated to a cause. But at the end of the day, what else are you missing out on if you focus? It's never good to just focus only on one thing, right? And that's
Yeah.
why for me, even uh, I'm a proponent of all movement. I think every sense of movement, whether you run, bike, cycle, swim, CrossFit, Spartan race, whatever you do, great.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of that. It's just find your balance, right? And if you find your balance, you'll find that life is much more enjoyable and rewarding. So
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I feel that many people when they try to take something away from it's food, right? So like food's
yeah,
the best thing ever. So and if you say you can't eat something and because you're making that choice, at some point it kind of gets to you and you're like you letting that go and you'll have that one day when you'll kind of cave in and then it just goes sideways and stuff like that. But I love the fact that you said balance because that's really I mean as long as you can indulge a little bit you might not indulge as much as you would if you were starved of it for so long.
no, exactly. It's when a lot of people say, hey, don't you want to work with the 1%? Role. Don't you want to work with the elite, the 1%? And no, I want to work with the 99%, right?
Hmm.
And the 99% is not everyone wants to train to be an action movie star or to be a special ops guy or a firefighter. Some people just want to be able to play to be able to go on a walk without huffing and puffing, be able to
Yeah.
play with their kids, be able to be more active. That's what most people want to do, right? But that's not something that is advertised or put out there. Everyone's not going to look like Chris. Everyone's not going to be shredded, and it's uh, it's just it's just how it is. But to be honest, not everyone wants that. Some
Yeah.
people just want to be able to be healthy, man. And so I'm speaking to that community more than anything.
Yeah.
Is understanding that you can't just restrict yourself. Enjoy life, man. As you
Yeah.
see, this last past year, so much has been taken away from us,
Mm-hmm.
and so you see how fleeting it is. So while you have it, a lot of people go, I wish I could have done this back when this was happening, and hopefully COVID will be over soon. But during the course of that, you take for granted just going to have a dinner in a restaurant. You take for granted going to the park. You took all these things for granted, and it's a good opportunity to look at those things and realize don't just focus on one because what else is there in my life, right?
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of people that are like, I just in the gym, I'm a beast, I'm a beast. You take the gym away, they're absolutely lost. They don't
Yeah.
know what they're doing. They don't know who they are. And a lot of people say that's sad, and it's not sad. It's a great opportunity because now you start to see, okay, who am I? Not that I don't love that. I appreciate that. I want to do that, but let me explore other aspects of myself and my life. And I think that's where we all have to be. Look at the positive in that standpoint, and that's a lot with my training. Is just understanding that and your ability to stay consistent. I wanted a program that you guys could stay consistent on
Yeah.
without having to go to the gym or do any of those different things.
What I also like about how you kind of build your program out is that whenever I see you even posting something about a product or something that you're kind of getting associated with or anything like that, it's all still connected to the same thought process, right? And which is something that I genuinely I always appreciate when I see someone doing that, because you'll see many cases where someone's kind of, on one end you're talking about fitness and workouts, but something I put out might just generally not sink in with what you do.
Yeah.
But I've always seen that you kind of keep that circle tight. You keep that circle of what you can stand for, what your training methodology, mindset pieces,
Yeah.
and I think they all kind of come together. And I've seen you use the term Ohana. I don't know if I said that right. And I've seen.
No, you did, brother. You're from Hawaii. I know it. You can tell the whole public now you're from your. But it's kind of my ethos, and you have to have that. You have to have, I think, something that you live by. And Ohana is a Hawaiian word for family, and it's not always blood family. It could be friends and those around you. But we all have Ohana. Some people just have. I mean, even if you don't have those around, you have a dog. That's your Ohana. You have someone you care about or something you care. Most people. Yeah. And that's something that's important. And I think, again, that ties back into purpose, that ties back into all these other things. And, I think, within the family culture, within India even, it's family is so important. Right? And so people understand that and that resonate with those in India. They understand that family is something that you live for, that you respect, that you, that drives you. And so use that as fuel in your engine is powerful. It's powerful, right? Because if you use it, that's something I don't think everyone's tapped into. How can I tap into that? And that's something that you want to live by with everybody. As you know, I mean, I try to treat everyone as Ohana. I try to treat everyone as family, because I feel are all family. We're all, I think there's a lot we forget about that. They're so divisive right now globally and all these different things, but when you get down to the heart of it, when you really look and you get past the narrative and you look at everyday people inherently are good. People inherently want to connect, but we're never told that, right? We're always told, this device. There is, but if you talk to most people, they're good people and they just want to connect. And I think the ability to do that, if we do that through a platform of fitness and training and wellness, that's even better, because the ability to connect through that is something we're all really searching for right now, especially right now when we're told to be in isolation and quarantine. How do we connect with others? And if fitness and training is a way to do that, I'm all for it.
I kind of feel like what you just said is a perfect way to end this conversation, because I can't think of a better way to end it than others. I'll go into a random tangent, and which might also be fun to do, but I can't think of a better set of words to kind of come out, which kind of ends this out. And thank you so much for taking the time out to do this.
Of course, man. Of course. Oh man, I love it. You had me at when you walked in naked. It was as soon as I saw you walking naked with I'm sorry. I saw it. You guys missed it. I saw it. I said, oh, okay. Hey, wait.
You're like, I didn't know it was that kind of a podcast.
I was like, what kind of party is this? What kind of useless information are we talking about today? Oh man, but yeah, it was a pleasure, man. I'm excited. I'm excited to do more in India. I'm excited to come over there and do some different things and work with different people over there. And huge fan of the country and huge fan of the people. And excited to start the process.
Looking forward to seeing you here, and at some point trying to figure out if I can ever do 100 sit-throughs.
You can do it, brother. You can do it. Just make sure you put clothes on first, Varun, because things will get pinched and crunched. So make sure you wear clothes, brother. Make sure you wear clothes. I tell you, this guy.
Note to self: wear clothes.
Note to self. It was like, I thought it was like Tarzan. You were coming through. I was like, what's happening here? What's going on?